There is something you've been brushing off as coincidence, a voice you heard in a dream, so vivid, so unexpected, so familiar it made you jolt awake. Your heart pounding, your breath caught between fear and awe. And though you told yourself it was just your mind playing tricks on you, just the leftover fragments of memory colliding in the night, heaven is telling you now. That voice was not random. That whisper was not your imagination. That presence was not a ghost. It was someone sent, someone you once loved, someone who once walked this earth with you and now walks beside the angels. Permitted for a moment to cross the veil and speak into your spirit, because the message they carry is one that can no longer wait. And Jesus wants you to know that dreams are not just the residue of your waking life. They're the sacred corridors where heaven sometimes moves without resistance, where your soul becomes more open than your mind would allow in daylight, where divine truths can be delivered without the noise of logic. And that dream you keep remembering was not just a dream. It was an encounter, a visitation, a divine dispatch from a soul who has watched over you, wept for you, interceded for you, and now, with the permission of the Most High, they're trying to reach you one more time, not to haunt you, but to help you, not to confuse you, but to comfort you. And though your ears heard only a few words, maybe your name, maybe a phrase that made no sense to you then, it was encoded with spiritual meaning far greater than you realized. And heaven has been watching to see if you would dismiss it or dare to listen again, because that voice you heard was filled with urgency, with love, with the weight of an unfinished assignment. And Jesus is saying now, my beloved, that the people who belong to you do not stop loving you just because they leave the physical world. They continue loving you from a higher place. And sometimes, when your pain grows too loud, or your confusion too deep, God allows a whisper from beyond to pierce through your dreams and remind you, you are not alone. You are never forgotten. You are not crazy for remembering their voice, their tone, the way they called your name. Because heaven does not erase love. It refines it, magnifies it, and even redeems what was left unsaid. And I, Jesus, need you to understand that not all dreams are dreams. Some are encounters wrapped in sleep. Some are warnings wrapped in metaphor. Some are comfort disguised as nonsense. And this one was a key, a clue, a sacred nudge to bring you back to what your heart already suspects, that someone you lost is still with you, not just in memory, but in mission, in spirit, in purpose. And they were sent in that moment, not just to say hello, but to awaken something you've buried, to unlock a part of your faith that went dormant, to draw your attention to a truth you've been trying to run from, that what you carry, what you were born to do, what still aches inside you, is not yours alone to carry, because they are helping you from the other side. And their message was not random. It was strategic, timed, deliberate, and sealed with heaven's approval. And now that you've heard it, now that you've remembered it, you must decide, will you go back to calling it just a dream, or will you lean into the possibility that you were chosen to receive it, to interpret it, to honor it? And if you do, if you dare to ask heaven what it means, to pray for revelation, to open your journal and write down every sound, every detail, every feeling you remember, you'll begin to unlock layers of meaning that will lead you to healing, to clarity, and to purpose, because this is not about chasing ghosts. It's about acknowledging that love never dies, that spirit never forgets, and that the people you thought were gone forever are actually waiting for the right moment to speak again. And when they do, it's not to bind you to grief, it's to pull you out of it, to remind you that you are still alive for a reason, that your story still matters, that there is more for you to do. And the fact that they showed up in your dream at this moment, during this battle, in this season, is no coincidence. It is a divine appointment. And Jesus is saying, open your eyes, child, but not the eyes of your body, the eyes of your heart, because the message has been delivered, and now it must be received, believed, and followed. And if you do, you will not only gain peace, you will begin to walk in alignment with the purpose that person always prayed you would find. And their voice will no longer be an echo. It will become a guiding melody, leading you out of confusion and into your calling. And now that you've opened your spirit enough to admit that the voice you heard was real, that the moment you thought was just a passing fragment was actually a sacred visitation, you must understand how carefully orchestrated that encounter was, how much of heaven moved in silence to allow it to happen. Because what seems like a small flicker of a moment to you was actually the result of an alignment between timelines, realms, prayers, and divine permissions. And when that voice called out to you, when that name pierced the dream like a bell ringing in a storm, something ancient inside of you stirred, not just because of the person who spoke, but because of the memories they carried, the unspoken love they wrapped around your spirit, and the truths they tried to remind you of before your waking mind could dismiss them. And Jesus wants you to understand that not all messages from heaven come with lightning or thunder. Some come as a whisper in the middle of your sleep, because your heart is softer there, your walls are lower there, your spirit is closer to the surface when your conscious mind isn't busy trying to reason everything away. And the voice that spoke to you carried not just comfort, but also instruction, a layered and holy message wrapped in tone, presence, vibration, and timing. And even if you only remember a few words, or just a sensation, or a fleeting image, do not underestimate it. Because even a whisper from heaven carries the weight of eternity. And the person who came to you was chosen specifically to reach you, because their voice still lives in your memory, still holds space in your spirit, still bypasses your resistance in a way no stranger ever could. And they were allowed to visit not just to remind you of love, but to pull you back to a promise you once made with heaven but forgot during your trials. Because there was something you once told God you would do, someone you said you'd become. And life distracted you, pain buried it, grief confused it, but that dream was your divine reminder. And Jesus is saying now, this is your time to remember not just who they were, but who you are, not just what they meant to you, but what they awakened in you, because you were never meant to grieve their departure forever. You were meant to rise from it, to carry their legacy, to live in such a way that heaven could point to your life and say, look at what love can become when it's not interrupted by death. And that voice in your dream was not a haunting, it was an assignment. And if you listen closely, if you replay that moment with reverence, you will notice something you missed. The timing of the dream aligned with something in your waking life, a decision you were about to make, a step you were too afraid to take, a door you were unsure about walking through. And their voice came as confirmation, as redirection, as heaven's way of saying, go there or stay here or turn around now. And it wasn't just advice, it was intervention. And Jesus wants you to know that the veil between this world and the next is thinner than you think, especially when a soul is obedient, especially when the purpose is urgent, and this moment is urgent. There is something heaven needs you to remember, something they're trying to place in your hands again before it's too late. And the voice that woke you in the night is not finished speaking, not yet, because what you received in that first dream was only the beginning, only the opening chapter. And more will be revealed if you remain open, if you welcome their presence with peace, if you stop labeling yourself as crazy or imaginative, and begin to accept that you are spiritually sensitive, divinely connected, and chosen to receive what others would never dare believe. And this is not about chasing after spirits. It's about becoming so aligned with heaven that heaven starts using your dreams as portals, your rest as revelation, and your sleep as sacred instruction. And Jesus is saying, prepare yourself, because another dream is coming. And this time you'll hear more clearly. You will remember more deeply, and you will wake not in confusion, but with clarity and power. And what they said this time will guide you in ways that change everything you thought you knew. And when it happens, write it down, speak it out. Don't let the message fade with the morning, because this is not fantasy. It is fulfillment. And if you stay in tune with that frequency, you will begin to walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, and you will no longer question if it was real. You will know it was, because everything in your life will begin to shift as though the veil never even existed. As you continue to wrestle with the memory of that voice echoing through the corridors of your dreams, it's vital to realize that what you are experiencing is part of a larger spiritual awakening carefully guided by Jesus himself, who is not only aware of your struggles and doubts, but deeply involved in every whisper that reaches your heart. The person whose voice you heard in that dream carries with them more than just words. They carry a mission, a message, a piece of the divine puzzle you have been trying to solve in your waking hours. And their presence in your dream was an unspoken promise that your journey is still unfolding, that your path has not been erased by loss or grief, but is instead being rewritten in ways you cannot yet comprehend. And this rewriting is happening not by chance, but by divine design, because God's timing is perfect even when yours feels uncertain or broken. And you must know that dreams like these are sacred touch points, spiritual signposts meant to redirect your soul from despair to hope, from confusion to clarity, from isolation to connection. It is in the silence of your sleep that heaven chooses to communicate what the noise of daily life often drowns out. And when you awaken with the residue of that voice on your lips and the echo of that presence in your spirit, you are standing at a spiritual crossroads where faith meets revelation, and where your willingness to listen determines how much light you will receive moving forward. And understand this: the enemy desires to keep you doubting, to convince you that these experiences are mere coincidences or figments of a tired mind. But Jesus reminds you that the enemy's lies lose power when confronted by divine truth, and that voice in your dream is one such truth, an unassailable truth designed to break chains of unbelief and usher you into a new season of spiritual awareness and supernatural breakthrough. And so the question is not whether the voice was real, but what you will do with it now. Because the moment you accept that it was someone from heaven trying to reach you, your entire perspective shifts from one of skepticism to expectation, from fear to faith, from wandering in darkness to stepping into the light of divine purpose. And as you prepare your heart to receive more, the Spirit is already moving behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, opening doors, and positioning people who will help you decode the messages hidden in your dreams and guide you toward the destiny Jesus has prepared for you. And remember, the spiritual realm operates on a frequency that is often silent to the untrained ear, but loud and clear to the soul that listens with intention. And the voice you heard was a call to wake up, to shake off the doubts that weigh you down, and to embrace the reality that love transcends death, that connection endures beyond the physical, and that the prayers you have whispered in secret have summoned this moment of divine encounter. A moment where heaven touches earth in your life, where past and present collide to create a future filled with hope. And though it may feel fragile, uncertain, or even overwhelming, this sacred interaction was never meant to be a burden, but a blessing, a catalyst for transformation that will unlock hidden gifts, heal old wounds, and strengthen your faith beyond what you thought possible. And as the memories of that voice deepen in your heart, know that this is just the beginning of a series of divine encounters designed to guide you through the storms, the valleys, and the seasons of waiting. For Jesus is preparing you to stand tall, to walk in confidence, and to carry a testimony that will inspire others who are desperate to hear that same voice, that same message, that same reminder that they are not alone, they are loved, and their story is far from over. And so keep your heart open, keep your spirit attuned, and keep your eyes on the invisible path Jesus is illuminating before you, because what was whispered in your dream was never random. It was a sacred call, a heavenly invitation, and a declaration that the person who spoke to you is still deeply connected to your life and purpose, urging you to listen, to believe, and to step boldly into the destiny that awaits you. Now, as you stand on the threshold of understanding this sacred visitation more fully, it is crucial to embrace the depth and magnitude of what that voice represents, not merely as a comforting echo from the past, but as a powerful catalyst for your future, because Jesus is revealing to you that this moment of divine communication is the gateway through which your faith will be renewed, your purpose reignited, and your spiritual journey forever transformed. And though the world around you may still seem confusing, overwhelming, and uncertain, the presence of that voice in your dream is an unshakable sign that heaven has not abandoned you, that your story is far from finished, and that the prayers you have whispered in the quiet of your heart are being answered in ways beyond your current comprehension. And it is in this space, between what you see and what you believe, between the earthly struggles and the heavenly promises, that the greatest miracles are born, because the voice that touched your soul in that dream was chosen to remind you of the eternal truth that love transcends all boundaries, even death itself, and that those who have gone before you are not distant strangers, but active participants in your spiritual destiny, watching, praying, interceding, and now speaking directly into your life when you are most vulnerable and most receptive. And Jesus wants you to know that this is not a fleeting encounter, but the beginning of a new chapter where the supernatural becomes natural for you, where dreams are not just figments, but portals, where every whisper, every symbol, every feeling that arises during your sleep holds keys to unlocking your next breakthrough. And you are invited to walk boldly into this new reality with eyes wide open, fully trusting that what you heard was a divine appointment meant to prepare you for the challenges and victories ahead. Because the enemy fears this awakening and will try to distract you, to fill your mind with doubt and your heart with fear. But Jesus is reminding you now that the voice in your dream is stronger than any lie, louder than any fear, and more real than any earthly circumstance. And it is a call to rise, to reclaim your identity as a beloved child of God, to walk in the authority and power that come from knowing you are deeply connected to the unseen realm where angels and departed loved ones stand ready to assist you. And this connection is your secret weapon, your shield, and your source of unending strength. So do not turn away. Do not ignore the signs. Do not silence the memories, but embrace them fully, journal them faithfully, and allow them to shape your faith and actions. Because as you do, you will find clarity in confusion, hope in despair, purpose in pain, and joy in the midst of trials. And the voice that once came as a whisper will become the soundtrack of your transformation, reminding you daily that you are never alone, that heaven is always near, and that the dreams you once feared were simply the beginning of a conversation that will lead you to the fullness of your destiny. And Jesus promises that if you hold fast to this truth, you will begin to see doors open that were once locked, paths appear that were once hidden, and blessings pour into your life that will astound even the most skeptical among you. Because what was lost is being restored. What was broken is being healed. And what was silent is now speaking loudly through dreams, signs, and divine encounters designed to lead you home, to your purpose, to your peace, and to the abundant life Jesus came to give you. And so stand firm in this knowledge. Walk forward with courage and listen closely for the next whisper, for the next message from heaven, for the next voice that will call your name and guide you further into the miraculous plan that God has been weaving for your life all along.